every man's heart one day beats its final beat. And if what that man did in his life makes the blood pulse through the body of others, then his essence, his spirit, will be immortalized forever.
Listen to me, you're never heard from again.
I'm running from the past and I can't change the hands of time. There's no more turning back, cause I know I'm gonna make you mine. I'm running.
Just when they think they got the answers, I change the question.
Dance music with CPR Jose Ortiz on 90.7 WTCC and WTCC HD Springfield.
We're 90.7 FM WTCC and CPR with you. This is Clubhouse Dance Music, and of course, the CPR's Clubhouse podcast, as promised. Our very special guests in the studios. It's an honor to have legendary producer and now filmmaker. We have Carlos After Dark Berrios, the man behind Lisette Melendez Together Forever. Also, we have the one and only Sammy Zone, his second home here in Massachusetts. Sammy Zone, welcome.
What's up?
You don't even need a mic.
My voice is very projective.
Yes, you project very well. Thank you so much for being part of our show, Clubhouse Dance Music. Truly an honor to have you here. It was your idea that, you wanted to come and visit and you wanted to do it live, because I offered to do it over the radio and to have you be part of the Freestyle Club, our podcast where we interview folks. And you were like, no, I want to go in person. And I think that is such a great thing, because it's a I want to say old school way of conducting business. And you are very much a traditionalist.
I am.
Why is it so important for you to do the traditional way of visiting radio stations to promote projects or to even have conversations?
Well, this time around, because you were around, you helped us tremendously on the first time, when we did the Don't Look Back project. And at that time, social media was new, and we didn't really know how to reach the people, right? And this time around, I thought, well, we should just take a different approach, just do something different. And the vinyl thing was something that I kept hearing other people do, not in our genre, but in other genres, hip hop and just other genres, dance, house labels. Frankie Bones, one of my old partners with Omar Santana when we were the Hit Squad, was releasing stuff. And so I said, I don't know what's going to happen, but I think I'm going to make this commitment. So let's just do it. So when I realized I was going to do that, I said, we should take that extra step, talking with Sam. And it was at that point that we invited George Lamond and K7 to come on board and, and participate and collaborate with us. I've worked with George and K before, so, we always have a great time. So I knew it wasn't going to be a big push, to get them to come over and just hang out and see if anything happened, because that's the way basically I approached it. I said, I don't know, I have no ideas, I have no plans. I really want you to bring you, and so let's play around with ideas that come from you first, and then we'll see if we form them and see what comes of it,
Well, speaking of ideas and forming them, there's a man here sitting to the right of you who has been very persistent and very loyal to you in so many years. I've had conversations separately with him, and he's like, Carlos, I can only have Carlos produce my stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he attempted to do other projects with other producers, but he's like, nah, Carlos. And so he's been beating down your door for 10 years, because 10 years ago was when the Don't Look Back series was released. And a little bit before that, we had the first Carlos Berrios versus Sammy Zone, which is Without You. And that song really pushed our music forward. It was the internet era of freestyle when that song came out, Without You. It became such a hit. Everyone, back then we had boards, and all the boards were on top of the song. Everyone who attempted to do iRadio streaming stations, they were playing that song every hour on the hour. We were no exception. Rafael Reyes and I had a radio station where we had the opportunity to be the first to promote that song.
Right.
And it just blew up, and everyone was like, I'm on board with this song. I'm on board with this song. And I just told you recently, and I've told Sammy Zone as well, that this was my ringtone for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, and there was
great.
one time where I booked Sammy, and
That's awesome.
and you know, I'm taking him to his hotel with his wife, and you know, just dropping him off, and you hear Without You, and he's like, what's going on here?
Right.
I'm like, that's my I wake up to that song,
Right.
and that's how powerful and impactful that song was to me,
Right.
and to a lot of people out there. So it's a great feeling to have someone like Sammy Zone have a song like that, and also have a project where everybody is on board and wanting to promote it.
Well, you know, like one of the things that I think we've kind of lost in trying to do new freestyle music, you know, and I think it's a part, if you come from, you know, those old days, you know, the idea is always to find the right song for the right artist. So it's not like, and people ask me all the time, you know, oh, just open up your, you know, your drawer and show me your 50, you know, beats, and I don't do that. Even with the songs, Frank Reyes also we never ever had like this stuff. Now there were songs that we demoed for a particular person and it didn't work, because that went into the vault, you know. Do Unto Me, Carl's record, was one of those. That was a record that was done originally it was actually for Frank Reyes himself, because when we first started hanging out back in the early 80s or late 80s, he was singing. You know, he was choreographing. He choreographed and discovered Rihanna Page and choreographed her and got her a deal with Sleeping Bag. When I met him, he was trying to get me to work with her, you know. And I had just done Out of Control Karina, and I was DJing at El Maurice, which was a tremendously huge place, you know. Used to hold like 3,000 people. It was bananas, this place. And that place was how I got Karina signed. But I'm moving away from my thoughts. The idea is to do something specialized for each artist, right? So if I do have beats that were left over from the Don't Look Back project, what I did was I played them for Sam. When I met him, he thought he was going to write something for Lisette. So we were just going through the beats that nobody wanted on the Don't Look Back project, right? So he picked one, and it was one that nobody thought of using, you know. So I said, okay. And he started to, write the song or come up with a melody, and we just started recording the melody. And I knew, I didn't tell him, but as soon as I heard his voice and I heard what he was doing and I said, okay, I think this might turn into something. So I asked him we worked on it. Please write the whole song. I want to hear what it sounds like. Write the chorus, you know, and he recorded it. And, Without You is in a different style from everything else. I recognize that I have a style, you know. So you're going to know that I'm doing a record. But Lisette's record, the energy of it and the type of song that it is totally different from a Joey May, which is totally different from a Sammy Zone. And that aspect of making music is the hardest part of what I do, you know, and probably why it takes me so long, you know, to get something out. Yeah.
Well, that's good. I wish that more people would take time to really hone their craft and really not have it be backwards, where a person writes a song and then you find a beat for them, where you have a person write a song to the beat. So then it could be more inspiring. So it could be more of a build.
Right.
When you write a song to a beat, you know, you already have the beat, you already have it playing, and that's the one that you're going to use, you could build on a song. And the good thing about Sammy, that he's such a person that likes to write and is creative, is that he took to it, and I'm sure that he wanted to also put forth an effort to impress you, because he wanted to really grab you and pull you back into our music.
Well, it's one of those things that happens. I think you no matter what, once you've done something, that paying your dues in that way, always people respect that. So every time somebody new comes to the studio, it's a nerve-wracking experience for them, and I know that. So Sammy was nervous. Everybody gets nervous when they walk, especially when I put a mic in front of them.
When I met you for the first time, when we went to pick up the Don't Look Back series, I was nervous, and I was just listening, because a lot of things that we don't do as students of the game or people that are in freestyle is, you see a person who has a lot of experience, a legend, if you will, and you are definitely a legend. And when you're in their presence, there's a lot of people that, I know what I'm doing, let me impress you. No, be quiet and listen to what they have to say so you can learn something.
Right.
And I'm sure that that's the same way that Sammy Zone was, because Sammy Zone's a talker, but he knows his place.
Right.
So he's like, no, let me be quiet and let me listen to what Carlos has to say, and just listen.
And everyone is different, so you have to, it's almost like being a therapist in a way, because you have to figure out who they are as a people, and then that's how you interact in the studio. Everyone is different. So, but the idea is always to calm them down, The idea is to give them the freedom to mess up, always, because, and I learned that a long time ago when we were doing background vocals for Lisette's album. I used Jocelyn Brown, I used Connie Harvey, I used Audrey Wheeler. Audrey Wheeler is on Together Forever. That's her backing Lisette up on the chorus. Her credit is there and everything. But it was Jocelyn Brown when we were doing something. I forgot what we were doing. But I was asking her to hit really specific high notes, and they would figure out harmonies. And she was the first person that I saw that when she would screw up, she would laugh. She'd be like, "Oh, baby, let's do it again. Take it back," And I was like, cool, So I always held on to that. And I said, listen, don't be afraid. Just, I'm not expecting perfection from anybody. Just go for it. That's all I want. Go for it, and then we figure out what your limitations are. Where I think I can take you. And that sort of thing. I did it with everybody. I did a Coca-Cola commercial. I got to do that with Selena. We did. It was an English and Spanish Coca-Cola commercial. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it. With Lisette, Coro, Lighter Shade of Brown, Selena, and Timmy T was supposed to be in it, but he ended up not being in it. And Selena was one of those, and I'm so glad I got to do that with her, because I know from my personal experience that she was able to hit notes that nobody had. Like, it wasn't necessary for her to go that far in the songs that she released, but she had that ability, and I don't think anybody knew that. Talented, super talented.
To rewind a little bit, were you looking to start that new era of freestyle with Lisette Melendez's Together Forever?
No, that was a total accident. We were looking for a song for Lisette. We did a follow-up to Make Noise called If You Truly Love Me, which was kind of like my own version, bite of Lil Lewis's French Kiss, where it slows down and it goes into another beat. So I had two. The A side was kind of like that and went into like a reggae thing. The B side was it went hip hop, right? That just completely flopped. It just didn't do anything. It was terrible. So I was working on a record called. It ended up being titled "Love Is Lies," which was written by. I did a track that Lisette was. That I said this could be something different. It was a hip hop beat. It was a dark bass line. It was like what ended up being kind of like that style. But Andy Panda wrote a song called Love Is Lies, and we recorded it and everything. I paid for the whole thing, and it was something missing, and we just didn't think it was going to work. This was way before Fever and all that stuff. So when we were on the road with Make Noise with Lisette, we were always touring with and more, because we were kind of like on the same level, which was low. You know what I'm saying? We were like bottom of the totem pole. We used to do these crazy clubs. Sometimes we get guns pulled on us. They didn't want to pay us. That really crazy stuff. So, and Frankie was always so energetic, and so so he was a fun guy to be around, And he kept saying, let's do something. So we actually got other demos that he doesn't even remember we did. Not freestyle, though. He had great ideas. But when the Together Forever thing happened, because I was supposed to produce him, he said, I want you to produce me, and I have a few ideas, you know? So he came in and with the Crater Records, and we just went through break beats, and we tried a few, and we would loop them really quick, but the one that sounded really cool was Sing Sing, right? And I grabbed my R8 drum machine, which was new at the time, and I had already changed the sounds to the way that I liked them. That's why nobody has those sounds. And I played a beat on top of the loop, and I did it like in 5 minutes. That's what the record is. I never changed anything, you know. And the rest was, you know, like Cutlass really had his ideas for the chords and stuff like that. So we put down a very rough sketch, you know. And then we had another session where we were supposed to all get together and, you know, be in the same room to write the song. But Frank Reyes wrote it like in 5 minutes, you know. And for some reason, Frankie Cutlass, you know, we were like, Frankie, here's the mic, whatever. And at that moment, he just said, you know what? It sounds like a girl song, man. I think Lisette, you should give it to Lisette. And that's how that happened.
Amazing. And that's a good foresight for someone to realize that this song is not for me, and I hear someone else in it, and I think that you should pass it. And, you know, I wish that would happen more often. And I wish that the process that we had back in the day was like that now, because now anyone could get a Casio keyboard, you know, and just promote and produce and put out a freestyle song and call it freestyle.
Yeah.
And there's no one saying, hey, you know, you got to go back in there and fix it. This song's not for you, and things like that.
In a way, I mean, you know, you would think that would open up the doors for expanding creativity. But it really, I mean, it's up to the individual, right? So it just depends on where, you know, like who they are, what it is that they want, why is it that they're passionate about something, you know? My thing was always, I just didn't want to fail. That was me. My passion came from there, you know, because I have a lot of stories of me, you know, tripping over myself in the beginning, you know. Had no idea how to record vocals. My first mix was a horrendous story, which was out of control. And I love telling the story because, you know, it's just it's a funny story, and I don't mind telling it. I had no idea how to mix a record because I never mixed a record, right? So when Aldo bought the record and we went to Power Play Studios to mix it, they assigned an engineer to me who I held on to for the rest of my life. He's still a very good friend of mine, Butch Jones, and taught me a lot about mixing. Mm-hmm. So at that session, how do you say? I'm faking it, trying to make it. You know,
fake it till you make it,
right? Yeah. Well, I didn't make it. Okay. So Aldo walks in like 6 hours later, right? And he's like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "It's the mix," you know. And he looks at Butch and Butch, you know, he's trying to cover for me. He's like, "Look, you know, blah blah." No, you know, Aldo said, "This is terrible." We started trying to fix it. He goes, "We can't." So they zeroed the board after 6 hours of spending money. Zeroed the board. How
much money, if you can give us a quote?
I'm going to say it was probably, at that point, maybe, let's say average, because it could be a little bit more, a little bit less, $100 an hour, so $600 gone.
Wow.
Okay? Plus the time for the engineer, whatever he was charging per hour. So he zeroed the board, right? And then he basically mixed the record with Butch, you know, with little input from me, very little. And at certain points, and this is the part that I love, I got bored, so I would fall asleep, you know. But that was a pivotal moment for me because that never happened again, you know. So the point of the story is realize what your shortcomings are and then work on them, you know. So I mix a certain way today, but I think I wouldn't mix that way if that wouldn't have happened to me, you know what I'm saying? So mixing is an incredibly important part of the production for me, you know. You know, so much so that I refuse to share it with anybody. Like, I don't want your ideas. I'm doing this and blah, blah, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, so there's that story.
But with that, you've earned your reputation. And so here we are all these years later, and now people come to you, and they want to know what you think. Now, do you still go to people like Aldo and all these other folks to ask them what they think?
No.
Because you earned your way.
Well, because you get comfortable. It's not that you earned your ways. It's that you understand things better, you know. So, you know, like let's say if you want to if you want to, I don't know, do sports or whatever, nobody knows their body more than you. You can't explain to somebody if you have a pain, they're not going to feel it, that sort of thing. So after a while, you get really comfortable and you understand. But I also have to say that every single mix, every single time you start a record, it's like it's brand new. There's nothing, the only thing familiar about it is this is a kick, this is a snare, this is a high, that kind of thing. But when you mix a record, or if I mix a record for somebody else, or for myself, it's like it's always starting from scratch. It's like you don't know anything, so you can't approach a mix like you know anything. You discover it. That's how you mix. You figure out what's there, especially if you're working on somebody else's record, because they use different sounds than what I would use. So now I have to figure out what it is that they're trying to accomplish, with the choices that they've made, and try to pull the best out of whatever it is that they did. But it's hard, Butch used to work out of a place called Hip Pocket, which was Bob Blank's old studio, famous engineer, and he used to tell me all the time back in those days, a lot of people are coming and saying, we want you to mix our record to sound like Carlos Berrios' records, and he would tell them, you can't mix your record to sound like his records because you're not using the same sounds. Like you can't mix what isn't there. You know what I mean? So, I think those are the, those are the things that, maybe, other producers understand or they don't. I don't know.
Well, you again have had many artists under your wing. Lisa Melendez, Karina. Is there a favorite record that you have? Like when they say, what is your favorite record or song that you ever produced? Do you have that one song that...
Never Say Never.
Never Say Never?
Yeah. Because it was the first time I worked with live musicians. The horn section is a band called Urban Blight. The bass player is a very, 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 at that time anyway, very popular musician. His name was Tinker. And the guitar player, Bernard Grobin, who I've worked with a lot, an incredible jazz and blues guitarist, So it was my first time working with them, so it was terribly exciting for me. I was so amped up about the record. I was actually talking to the guitar player today for the first time in 10 years. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about the record, and he says, you were so ahead of your time with that record, the way Frank wrote it, the way that, it was just something really, really cool. It was like, it wasn't freestyle, you know what I mean? But I wanted to grow at that time. I said, we got 2 records that were freestyle. Lisette's on a major label. Why can't we push it to do something pop, And the label basically said, and I pushed for it. They wanted another freestyle record, and I said no. And they said, well, okay. So we won't put out another freestyle record. I said, I want you to push this record. And they said, no. and essentially the album was dead right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's because you believed in a project and in a song that could have done very well.
Took it to another level.
Yeah, it could have gone somewhere else,
Yeah.
but they wanted to pigeonhole you in that category for that moment.
Right.
Because they wanted the same success from the first song
right.
to the second.
It's not, at this point, it's not a secret. The major labels had absolutely no respect for us, They didn't see us, they barely saw us as people, honestly. And when it comes to, what we were doing, they didn't understand it. Together Forever is, and this happened on every record that I signed to a label, every record, not just this one, but this one was the longest journey. Together Forever, the demo, took me about 1.5 years to shop, and I was rejected by almost every major label and every indie label, including Cutting. I mean, everybody. Nobody liked the record. I took it to my friend Ted Courier because I had done some stuff for Sweet Sensation, and he's a really cool, laid-back dude. And I remember, I came to pick up my cassette, and and he's like, "Babe, there's nothing here, babe. I'm sorry." So, but there was something about it that I believed, And this is like the demo. This isn't the record. The record sounds, it's like you could hear that the original thing is there, but the production of the record, like the recording of her vocals, the way that we did it, bringing in King Shamik to do the break, the scratching stuff and all that, wasn't there, So maybe I understand, but I kind of got my revenge when I was at the music conference and the record had gone top 40. And my friend Bruce Carbone, who was working with Polygram at the time, he was the A&R dude, stood up, because they were talking about the record. And they were like, why don't more people do these kind of records? And Bruce stood up and says, Carlos, I'm very upset with you. You didn't bring me this record. You know for a fact that if you would have brought this record to me, I would have signed it. And I said, Bruce, check your garbage pail. It's probably still in there. It was a great moment. Yeah.
Now you're working again with Lisette Melendez. You have a project that, again, you demoed 10 years ago, and it was a combination of her and Cynthia,
Right.
And combined they're known as Listen.
Right.
And so why are you revisiting that song?
It's really interesting. I don't know, honestly. Lisette came at a time when I wasn't ready. We had just, I think, released Running, or were about to release Running. It was before the vinyl came out, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, it was right.
And she, she wanted to do something, and I said, okay, I haven't done anything new in a long time, so let's just go through the process. She came over, and I really, you'd have to ask her, but I think that she felt that I wasn't really into it, which is not really the case. It was just that I was trying to find that the anchor, like what was going to trigger me to like start creating, A lot of times it's just sitting there and running melodies. Sometimes, it's just, I had done a beat, that ended up not being a good beat. But in the end, she had put the word out. So I think Willie Valentine was submitting tracks, the Twins were submitting tracks, and other people were submitting tracks. And ultimately she decided to go with the Twins, which I was glad about because, they're friends of mine. And they have no egos, so it was very easy for them to call and say, hey, we just want to ask you, what do you think of this? And I give them my opinion and that kind of thing.
The good thing about the Twins, too, is that they are traditionalists.
Mm-hmm.
And so they like what you like. They like the technology. They like to go back in time, and they like to experiment with old technology or classic technology.
Yeah, I hope they're listening because they're going back to like Back to the Future, back because I make fun of them with the keyboards. They're crazy, but I love it. And as soon as they're up and running, like I'm going to be the first customer or whatever because they have a lot of gear.
I know, I see. They're showing every gear off.
Yeah.
It's like a collector of video games. It's like a collector of comic books, but they just like to collect classic instruments and things that they like to implement into their production, which is a great thing because they're going to have a unique sound, now and forever until they no longer want to do this.
Right. It's great. They're great guys. Everybody loves the guys and the Twins and we're actually, I guess I could say this, I've been trying to figure out who I can collaborate with, like really collaborate with, something that I wasn't open to in the past. I had no interest in collaborating with other people because early in my career, you have experiences and they're not good experiences because you're collaborating with somebody who's also just learning. So you clash, that sort of thing. And at this point, I have very strong ideas about what I want, or at least, when you're trying stuff out and you hear something, you're like, this is the seed of something great, but somebody's saying, I don't know. I don't want that moment. I have no use for that. So it's been difficult, but I picked two and I did that video, and I shouted them out on purpose. So the beat mechanic in Texas, John Ramirez, who's extremely talented.
Another traditionalist.
Yeah. We're working on his next release.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of you are tuning in, and then if you just tuned in, we're live on 90.7 with the legend himself, Carlos After Dark Berrios, and we've cleared our schedule, to talk to him, to get his knowledge. We have Phillip Anthony here, and I know he's co-hosting, but the bottom line is that when you have someone like Carlos speak, again, you listen, so we know our place.
Absolutely.
And so I'm asking as minimal questions as possible because I'm getting a lesson
Your
here.
arms must be tired.
You're killing me, man.
Take it down. Put it down. Yeah. Put it someplace else.
I'm truly proud to say that I love the collaboration between you and 418 Freestyle. Now, how did that get together? I know you said you were finding collaborations,
Right.
and now we have you and Sammy Zone after you putting the 12-inch record out and creating another phenomenon, because I have to compliment you when you decided to put the Running Redux out with our friend Sammy Zone here. It just became something where everyone celebrated it, and people that don't necessarily buy vinyl or were not interested in buying vinyl, they purchased a copy of the vinyl. For about a month, it was just people on social media showing off their copy of the Running Redux. Yeah. They're spinning it. There's my friend Cliff Potts. I saw he has 3 turntables. Yeah. He has 3 of the vinyl on top, and he's mixing them and playing around with them. So that tradition that you brought forth, I mean, it just created something where Sammy Zone is now a household name in our freestyle community, which is something that he earned.
Yes.
Because he's worked hard.
Yes.
And I do compliment him and commend him for always, and you spent 10 years grinding. And now I see him on every flyer, especially on the New York shows. You just finished doing a show in Chicago. He's been all around, and I'm so happy for him because, you know, in the beginning when he was grinding, you know, everybody has a comment to make. But now look, this is what comes to fruition, the hard work.
Yep.
He got Carlos Berrios back into the studio. He got the Running Redux. He's on vinyl in 2019.
Yep.
He's on vinyl.
Yep.
And his song has been on the air since it was released back in 2018. Still going strong. Still on my top 10 countdown because it came off the countdown. And then when you guys got together with 418 Freestyle and created that collaboration, the song took off again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Which people thought they didn't understand. You know, they were like, "What's he doing?" You know, but I knew what was going to happen based on my conversation with Gino. Now, it was actually Stephanie Bennett who put us together. Stephanie Bennett, because I, you know, you don't really see people working hard like the way we used to back in the day. There are people putting in the hours. There's no doubt about that. They sit in their studios and they put in the hours. But there's something to be said about, like the physical grind, like traveling someplace. And
Jenny Renee is a perfect example. She traveled from Florida to Massachusetts to my radio show to debut her song here.
Right.
She could have done it in Florida.
Right.
There's plenty of iRadio stations over there that
Sure.
are playing freestyle. She could have gotten to any of them.
Right.
She goes, no, she flew here.
Right. And that's the kind of thing that, you know, I mean, that's part of the reason, you know, that we decided to pick up the record besides that it was a good record, you know, because I never, you know, I don't know Jenny, you know, but they made the effort. They came up here, they did this, they came and, you know, we had lunch and we sat and we did the whole thing. But no, it was Stephanie Bennett who introduced us, and it was because of that, you know. There was a point where all of a sudden I just saw Stephanie really pushing hard, and I hadn't seen her in a while, and I met her when she was a teenager, you know, it was a long time ago. And we talked about, you know, working together, but it didn't work out because of the distance, right? Anyway, so I decided to send her a message, basically saying, you know, I see what you're doing, keep doing it, I'm proud of you, basically, something like that, you know. And then she reached out, and she was like, oh, thank you, you know, she was happy that I reached out. And then I saw her do something else like a month later, and I said, you know, keep going, just keep going, just words of encouragement. And then we got into a conversation, and she's the one that told me about, you know, Gino, what he's doing with the 418 proper, you know. And she told me Gino would love to meet you, you know. He's been talking about doing something, but, you know, he really wants to talk to you. So I went. I traveled all the way out there. We had a conversation. We sat down. And the conversation basically ended with us saying, you know, he said, I want to do freestyle, but I won't do it unless you do it with me. We do it together, you know? And I said, well, let's put out the running record and let's see how it goes.
80,000 spins later.
125,000.
I see the number grew in a week.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So since then, of course, you know, we've solidified the partnership more. You know, Gino's an amazing workaholic, and he has a vision for what he wants to do, what he's already accomplishing with 418 Music, you know, but he wants it to happen with, you know, with freestyle, you know. And in our conversations, you know, we're both in agreement that we can't just it's hard because you want people to win. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you see people working, you want everybody to win, but you have to, you sort of have to be the one to, the grown up in the room and say, look, maybe this isn't good enough. Go back and work on it a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Because the idea is not to put out freestyle music. The idea is to put out the best possible freestyle music that we can. You know what I mean? So, and then things get complicated. We're going through a growing, phase right now. Running was the first record. Jenny Renee's the second. There are a few things in the works. I already announced the Listen record is coming out. We're working on his follow-up. We're doing a C-Bank record with Brenda, and Joe, and then getting back to the original, Stephanie Bennett. So I'm collaborating with the Twins on a Stephanie Bennett record. So those are my two collaborations. The Beat Mechanic with Sam and the Twins with Stephanie Bennett.
The Beat Mechanic a few years ago put out Frankie J, and put out Frankie J featuring Stevie B, put out Frankie J featuring George Lamond. These are records that should have done more and could have brought back Frankie J to our music. But he was all for it. I mean, he did a solo song, Breaking, and he put out a video. He put 2 videos out.
Yeah.
And now, after he came back and did the Stevie B song, the George Lamond song, it's like, oh, well, I'm going to go back to my genre of music because the support is not there. A lot of people spoke on saying that they have a lot of support, but they're not supporting as, purchasing or even streaming. So that's also important.
This is the difficult part, and to be honest with you, I'm going to see where this goes. I have a love for the music, that I'd rather, which is what I did. I said, I'd rather leave if I can't do it the right way, And Sammy knows. He's the one, because it was always, every 4 months, it was like, hey, Berrios. I was like, Sammy, stop. Sam, stop. How's the wife? How's the kids? So the conversations were very short. But he was working so hard, and I saw, and it was, the other genres doing vinyl that changed. I said, all right, let's try it. I'm so happy that the vinyl worked. But I have to tell you, it was a tremendous amount of work, not just the creation of the work on the record, but just finding the plant, getting the records, waiting,
making sure that the weight of the record is perfect, that it's a good quality record, that it's not one of these places that don't have a good weight on the record or that has limited spins.
Right.
So you spin it 30 times and it doesn't work.
Right.
And
again, it's like I don't, I know people try to hold their cards to their vest and that kind of thing. I found a guy in Jersey. His name is Leandro. I forgot his last name. I think it's Leandro. I'm not going to say his last name. Leandro, but the place is called Stereo Disc, right? And the man took care of me. Anybody wants vinyl, call my friend Leandro. You can use the place I used. I don't, we're not, it's not like CIA type stuff.
Yeah, no. And, another person that likes to share their wisdom is Gino Caporelli.
Yes.
He's very open to sharing.
Absolutely.
And I wish that the freestyle community would take his advice. But, I feel sometimes that how can you teach anyone that already knows everything? And we have a lot of know-it-alls on social media, and we don't have a lot of students of the game. I get a ton of music here, and I have to be a gatekeeper and say no, no, no,
right.
Yes, no, no. And sometimes even, some questionable songs get on. But it's because the audience is always pushing hard for it. So we give it an opportunity, and of course, after a few weeks, it dies down and is dead. It's a bad song. But how do you get people like that? I mean, to get back on track and really listen and try to get the best product for them when they already know everything. And Gino wants to share his knowledge. Hey, this is how you get 120,000 listens on Spotify and on streaming.
Yeah.
I can teach you. But they don't want to learn. All they want to do is, accuse them of purchasing Billboard and all these silly little things people like to do.
There's look, for the most part, all that stuff is just defense mechanisms, on people's parts, There's, I think, as human beings, we're naturally insecure and we're naturally jealous, or at least envious, when somebody's doing better than us. So I think it takes effort to get beyond that. Like they talk about heroes. What's a hero? A hero is somebody who does a heroic act in spite of their fear. So anyone who says they're not afraid is a liar, right? It's that kind of thing. So
I'm afraid right now.
No, you're not. I want to, I would love to pass on the stuff that I know, and people like the Twins and anybody else. A long time ago, I friended Freddie the Edit, whose enthusiasm I loved, and whose appreciation of other people's work also, but after an initial conversation, or even, let's say, for lack of a better word, a master class, which I've done with people. This is how I do it. This is what I use. This is what I listen for. This is what, After that, it's on them. They got to take it and, and grow with it, My way of doing things is I question everything. If I could find, because the search is always to find a way to make something, even if it's only 5% better, how can we do that? Let's just push it. And sometimes you go too far and you got to bring it back. But to me, that's the idea, so over a period of time, within a certain work, if you could find 5% here, 5% here, 5% here, before you know it, the whole thing is just like elevated to something else, And that's kind of like what happened with the Running record. Now, I recognize, of course, that it's a remake, and I didn't really go far outside of what the original was, It's just almost like a better version of it, But I wanted to do, like, the edits were very stressful. First of all, I had to find a machine.
And because some of you may not be aware of this, but the edits were done in a traditional manner, and he did it with a reel-to-reel, which means that he needed to do it by hand, every edit by hand. And I've never seen someone do it such as Carlos Berrios. The last person that I think taught me a little bit about it was Jesus the Juice Vasquez, when he did his mixtapes here with reel-to-reel, pieces of tape, and just razors.
I can't even imagine the patience it takes.
Dude, the thought process, it's more of a thought process. Remember, these edits, it's not like he sits down and all, he has a whole plan. And you just have to really think of what you really want to do and then execute it. And watching and working with Carlos, you see these things and you're like, oh my God, you become a fanboy. I don't care who you are. You sit in that room and it's me and George Lamont, and George is like, oh wow, and it's the truth,
and that also inspired George Lamont to also start doing the classic way of doing things.
Because again, me and George are friends. Me and Kay are friends, and I have very few friends. You would think in in the genre like that, But George I've worked with before, and Kay I've worked with before, so they know how they know what it's like. First of all, I don't know, in the old days, you do a demo, no matter what, even if it was just a bass line, you put it on cassette and you hand it out to everybody that was in the room. Mm-hmm. I don't do that, Nobody hears the final until it's final. You know what I mean? So hey, he had no idea what Without You sounded like until it was done. He heard nothing.
I used to have a lot of demos, and that's why I brought up the other one earlier, because I had a demo of Do Unto Me, but it was a different song. It was a different title. George Anthony had demoed it.
Yes, he reminded me that he had come over and we tried to do it.
Yeah.
I think Jason Tommy also tried to do
something
it.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually right now I'm playing the Running, the original version that you guys put out years ago,
right?
About 10 years ago, and so you combine these two songs and it just made it to something totally different. It made it an experience. It made it a 7-minute experience because it just starts with Sammy Zone's powerful voice, the Carlos Berrios production, and then he's doing the original Running from 10 years ago. Then he goes into the classic Running, and then he flips it on his head, has TKAK7 rapping, George Lamond, and then Seabag to top it off, and you're like, what an experience.
It's a journey, though. It's a Back to the Future journey on one song. You're going all over the place.
It starts off slow, and, I can't say slow because it starts off with a bang and ends with a crescendo. And so that's the type of freestyle that I love. So people wonder how come that song is still on your countdown? How come? Hey man, like listen to it, listen to the journey. You have to understand there are songs that will be on a countdown for 52 weeks because that's the type of journey it takes the audience in. And so this song Running has taken people on a 8-month journey, and it continues to take the people on a journey. It hasn't finished yet. It's already at 120,000 listeners, streaming.
Streams, yeah. It's hard, because like you don't know what it's going to be, and then you put it out and you hope for the best. I honestly thought I was going to get a lot of pushback because I didn't really, when it went into the original dun, dun, and the key lines, and I said, I can't, if I change that, people are going to reject that more, so I said, let me just do a good job,
You did an excellent job. You did a job that what you did 10 years ago with Without You is the same exact reaction that you got 10 years later with the Running Redux.
Right.
So you created this buzz for Sammy Zone, and he's the luckiest artist in freestyle right now. and
I agree.
And I want to talk to him briefly because I know he drove a long way. I always say this, and I'll say it to your face because we've had our back and forth over the year, and I always supported you, and
Absolutely.
even when we get mad at each other and stuff like that,
we have a love-hate, agree to disagree, potato.
We've had some really ridiculous conversations.
You say
but
tomato, I say tomato, man. Come on.
Yeah, but the fact is that you have become undeniable, and you did that on hard work. Yes, you collaborated with Carlos Berrios, but you've been at these shows and you were an artist that sold tickets, and people made fun of that because you're selling tickets to get on fever shows. But they don't understand that that's what people do to pay dues. So you sold tickets, right? Did you make money selling tickets?
Absolutely.
And now, not only does he make money probably selling tickets, but now he's getting booked to perform, and he's getting the top dollar that he's always wanted because those are his favorite 2 words, top dollar, And so how does it feel to have this 10-year journey really pay off now?
Wow. I'm still a little numb. I'm still taking it in. It's a little weird, believe it or not. It really is. I still haven't, we were on our way up here, and I was like, they're going to find out sooner or later, Carlos, that I can't sing.
He actually said that.
Yeah.
Because, we were listening to Tom Jones came on the record. First of all, when I'm driving, I listen to the 50s and the 60s station.
Excellent.
I can't, yeah.
Excellent choice.
The 50s especially gets rid of any kind of road rage that might come up. But he actually said that, and I was like, what? So, listen, if you have pitch, you have timing, and you have a tone. You can sing, like you have that. But that one, actually, I said, if you can emote, if you could put the emotion into it, then you're a singer. And he does. He puts a lot of emotion into it.
He has a unique tone that it's just fun to listen to. Like you want to listen to the whole song.
It's weird because I was telling him I hated the way I sound, and it's still kind of weird to me. I'm like, oh man.
But I want to say this because it's important. When I met Frank Reyes, he was aside from a choreographer, he was also part of a dance crew that he traveled the world in the 70s, and eventually, he ended up being one of the leads in Beat Street, and I met him shortly after that, right? But he's the one that taught me the importance of putting on a good show. So when Lisette, when we got to the Together Forever stage, she was so prepared, and she had such an incredible show. First of all, nobody had a better show than Rihanna Page, and he put that together.
I loved her voice.
Rihanna Page's voice is amazing too. So when I see Sammy perform, it's one of the things, and I know that this is one of the reasons why several A-level artists support him. Like Kay and George and Lisette. Because when Sammy puts on a show, he puts on a show. You know what I mean? And we're getting the right angle.
Absolutely.
You saw how he posed? All right, make sure, okay. Light green. Okay.
Yeah. So actually, Frank Reyes was look, he's doing movies. He's not, he doesn't deal with music at all these days. But he's in town. He's in town to negotiate a movie deal, and he said, while I'm there, I'll write Sammy's song. And he hasn't written a freestyle song in a long, long time.
You have no idea.
So
that was just
yeah.
This is Frank Reyes. Come
on. Yeah,
and
wow.
It's a big deal. And let me tell you something. One of the things that's also really lacking for some reason, because freestyle, like hip hop, is always a producer oriented genre, right? But hip hop, when the rappers started to talk about real things, they became the artist, right? They became the delivery.
They took the forefront.
Yeah, the deliverer of the message, right? Now, in freestyle, unlike pop and rock, they don't really celebrate. They don't really celebrate the writer.
The underwriting. Yeah.
What was the message? Oh, okay. A box. What's in the box? What's in the box?
Did we say something or do something?
Oh.
I guess I got to edit this part. Where's the unknown admin when I need him?
Ralph, where are you? Hello?
So he's right. They don't
is
celebrate the writers.
Ralph is in New Jersey somewhere. So, we only communicate through Skype.
Okay.
For those of you that may not be aware, we have a show called The Freestyle Club. We are on our 29th episode. And we're going to be celebrating 1 year. And the Freestyle Club is a spinoff of the Frackin' Flat Leavers. We were too controversial, so we had to, tone it down a little bit. But the Freestyle Club is a show where we talk to different artists. We've had Sammy Zone on. We're looking forward to having Carlos Berrios on. Tonight, we're going to record an episode with Trenier. Nice. We've had TKA on there. We had Andy Panda, and we were talking about second generation.
Wow.
Which is like, if I go into my closet right now, I have every single episode recorded on VHS.
Okay, please stop. I was on that show. I had long hair, and I had to pull it back into a ponytail. I used to have it on VHS. I lost it. So if you have it, I want a copy.
I need to get a VHS player and check everything out. Second Generation, for those of you that may not be aware, was a show in the 90s, at 1991, 92, where they used to play freestyle videos, and it was hosted by Tony Moran and Andy Panda. And he introduced me to my crush. You can see her on the Fear of the Walking Dead first season. You can see her on Orange is the New Black. And they had a name for her. And I completely forgot it because I didn't do my studying on pandas. But it was Andy Panda and Amanda Panda. I got it.
Amanda Panda.
That was such my crush. I used to tune in every week to see if she would be on the show.
Right.
Amanda Panda.
Funny story with Tony Moran. I'll try to tell this real quick. Before I went to the Institute of Audio Research with Nordi Cotto. And him and Johnny Famolari, for a while, they had that radio show on Omega. And we became good friends. He's the one that actually paid me to do the Jasmine record, On the Loose. He wrote it, and he paid me to produce it, So we were friends, and oh man, where was this going? Oh, so before I did any record, I was doing mixtapes at home, like everybody else does.
Especially with that Back in Time 12-inch record, which is one of the greatest.
No. This was before. This is 1986, And it was Nordy who took my bootleg cassette to a guy named Rocky for them to press up bits and pieces,
Oh, my God, I have those.
Yeah, so I did bits and pieces 86 and 87. But here's the story. At one point, the meeting was supposed to take place over at Shakedown Sound, which was Arthur Baker's studio. And so I went, and I was nobody, So I walk in, and I'm like, I'm here to see Arthur. And they're like, wait in the lobby. So I'm waiting. I waited like 45 minutes. And then after a while, I got bored. So I started walking around, And I found my way around the hallways, and I found this big empty room, and I see a guy, his back, and in front of him was a big editing machine, and I knew it was Tony, So I didn't want to interrupt, so I just stood there, and he felt me, so he turns around. He goes, "Hey, what's up?" I said, "How you doing?" He goes, "Are you here to see Arthur?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, okay." I said, "Yeah, I have a," so I was like, "Yeah, I have a edit mix. I'm going to show him." He goes, "Really?" He said, "Is it good?" I said, "I hope so." So Tony goes, he lets me go in, and he was working on a New Order record. So I'll never forget the opening. It was the first time I saw the edits fly by on a half-inch, and we talked for a minute. He was very friendly, and then he looks at me and he goes, "Listen, if you really feel in your heart of hearts that you have what it has, don't let anyone ever tell you different." And I was like, my body just went cold. I was like, wow, it's so powerful. Never forgot it, and I love telling that story. And I know it always gets back to Tony. So every time I see him, he goes, "You tell that story again, right?" I said, "Yeah."
I'm looking forward to one day interviewing Tony Moran. He's my get. I've conquered some of my favorite interviews.
Right.
Stevie B, Johnny O, George Lamond, Tony Moran.
Yeah, Tony.
I need him to be part of the Freestyle Club or come on the show.
Right.
And I hope in the future that I could do that. But interviewing Andy Panda was educational. Having you here is educational. Sammy Zone, going back to you, sir, and your journey.
Right.
Is your wife happy now? Because I know that it's like wives are very overprotective, and I gotta give her a shout out because she's always protected you, and to this day she still does.
Yeah.
But I think she's leaned off a little bit now because of the fact that you've actually made it to where you want it to be, and you're still aspiring for more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. She actually told me a couple of weeks ago. She goes, "Listen, I'm getting tired of going to all these shows with you. You're going to have to find a guy because I ain't going to do it all the time." I said, "Honey, but what about when, Vegas comes?" "Oh, I'm going to that show." so she's 1 foot in and 1 foot out. But, she's feeling a lot more confident and a little happier. And, things like, what happened, it was, I was eating dirt for a long time.
She sees it happening now.
Yeah, I was eating dirt for a long time. She saw the abuse in the late 80s, and then she's seen the struggle I went through in the 90s, and then all of a sudden, here comes Carlos, and I'm like, trust me. She's like, no. Now she's like, "You were right. Yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it," and I stuck to it. And look, I'm who's to my left is Carlos Berrios. I got Frank Reyes writing a song for me, man. I mean, dude, it doesn't get any better than that. Song. Not songs, right? No,
He's writing one song. That's it.
Actually, 2 songs.
We can't.
He wrote the C-Bank song too.
He also wrote 2 songs, one for C-Bank, one for Sammy Zone.
Yeah.
Man, that's amazing. Big shout outs going out to Brenda, C-Bank, Jimenez, Joey May. I still remember when I first started my career on the radio, and you, Carlos, was one of the few folks that, I don't know if you thought that I was a big-time radio station because there was 103.5 FM, and you thought maybe I was from KTU or whatever, but you would send me everything from After Dark Records first. Before you would send it to this station, you would send it to mine. So I could create a buzz at mine first, and then the DJs here would take notice that I would have exclusive stuff. So my Mr. Exclusive name is due to you giving me a lot of exclusive Carlos Berrios stuff. And let me tell you,
that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it will get me in trouble. But I have test presses for Joey May's project. I got to interview her because of you. I got the interview on a cassette somewhere. I got to find it.
Right.
And so I've had this friendship with Brenda for all these years because of you allowing me to. I still got that beautiful Joey May glossy 8x10 picture, which is probably the best 8x10 photo. I got the one from Bethany that you sent.
Yeah.
I mean, After Dark Records, Carlos would take care of me very well. He would send me the CDs, the compilations, everything. I was always made because of Carlos. So it's your fault. All these things that are happening now.
I used to just
I'll
get
take
my
the
stuff
blame.
on Castle Hill and Pelham Parkway. That was.
Yeah, but you have to buy your stuff.
Were you on Were you on Pelham Parkway? Was that you or was that
That was Owen.
That was Owen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was Owen. Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, that was my spot for the music back then.
Owen Sober married my
But yeah.
cousin.
How does it feel
Yeah.
to be an inspiration to not only DJs but also producers all at the same time?
I don't know, dude. You know, that's like, I don't know.
Like,
I mean, you know.
yeah, like,
what do you
like,
s-
so,
what
like,
do you say?
a producer's like, I want to be like Carlos Berrios, and that's what they aspired to be.
I don't, you know, okay. If you're inspired, then you should aspire to be the best you that you can be. That's what the aspiration should be, you know. The inspiration, I understand.
Are you writing this down? Are you writing these down? He's dropping gems.
I got him.
We need a stenographer in the room.
Well, I like to also pass my knowledge, because, you know, people are, I don't know if people in 2019 and now this generation, they're scared to give credit to the people that put them down.
I don't
like,
understand that.
I'm never afraid to say I wouldn't be here, partly if it wasn't for Jesus the Juice Vasquez.
Right.
He's the founder of Clubhouse, and he's the reason why there's freestyle in New England in its entirety. One guy, and now he's in Florida, but one guy, Jesus the Juice Vasquez, along with Luis Rodriguez, Sonny Marini, these guys were the ones who created this where I'm sitting right here 30 years ago. And so why would I? Some people call me Mini Juice. I'm like, okay, I'll take that. I've gone to Walmart many times and I feel like the mayor because I'm shaking hands, right? Like a few weeks ago, somebody that I know for a long time, he's talking to me, excited about my show, Freestyle, brings his wife over, his son. Babe, I want to introduce you to Jesus the Juice Vasquez. And I'm like, what? But it's okay, you know. It's okay because his legend is here, you know.
Legacy.
His legacy is
I love
here.
that. I love that because it's important, you know. And it is. I think at this point, it does seem like it's old school. You know, my story about Tony is that's important to me. Omar Santana put me on. I always say that, you know. You know, my friendship and my work time with Frank Reyes, you know, those were the most important things that happened, you know, in my life, and I will always, you know.
Yeah, we talked
You have
about
to, yeah.
we had a small conversation about Together Forever, and we talk about Frankie Cullis's part in it.
Sure.
And he was like, well, that would be accurate.
Right.
And so you're giving credit to the fact that he had a portion of it, you know. And so I'm not sure why now in this era of our music, people are afraid to give thanks or to acknowledge people who put them on. And so we have to be careful that we don't become so self-centered that we lose ourselves.
Right.
And there's nothing better than having a team around you.
Yeah.
You know, and to have people that have the same mindset. Behind you we have Cheryl, and Cheryl is one of my students. I am not only the Clubhouse dance music freestyle guy here, but I'm also the trainer of anyone that comes in to the radio station, and I want to pass my knowledge on. Right. And I Mr. Miyagi the crap out of them. You know, 1 minute they're outside sanding the floor and waxing my car.
What does this have to do with the radio?
Yeah, what does this have to do with the radio? And then I started putting things together for them, and they're like, oh, okay, I get it now. And I'm sure that that's what you've done with the people that you've helped, and I'm sure that Sammy has knowledge that he's passing on to other people. We talked about Gino, how he's trying to get other people to think about streaming and getting freestyle back to a successful place. Right. And people are like, nah, I already know what I'm doing. I don't need your help.
Here's the thing. Knowledge is powerful, right? So knowledge is you know, there's a lot of value in it. So at least for me, and I'm going to speak for myself. I'll only pass on everything that I know to someone who I feel is genuinely interested in what I have to teach. Because there are a lot of people that say they do, but the moment you sit them down, you know, they have the attention span of a flea, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
I asked Cheryl, who's the background singer on the song? It was just random. Mm-hmm. It was Pure Pleasure, Only You. He goes, oh, that's Cynthia Figueroa. And I'm like, how does she know that? You know? And so, really and I'm like, you're coming on my show. You're going to be trained. And she's been here every class, hasn't missed one class.
Right.
And she will be an on-air personality eventually. Same thing with Bruni De Leon. Bruni would travel from Massachusetts to Connecticut for free to pick up phones at a radio station. Nobody ever trained her. But that kind of dedication to our music deserves something extra, where it's like, wait, no, there's something in this person.
Well, there's something,
you know,
yeah.
and you got to bring it out of them. So, hey,
right.
I brought Bruni in, and we're going to teach her. And so,
well, they're here to learn, obviously, you know. But yeah, you know, it's difficult for me. Look, I'm very quiet. I'm very, you know, I'm like I don't know, whatever. The Howard Hughes of freestyle. You know, nobody, you know, for a long time, nobody knew what I, you know, looked like.
You're the calmest, coolest, and most collected person I've ever talked to. There are times where I thought that you're going to blow a gasket with me, and that you were going to, like, just be really upset because there have been some issues in the past, right? And then I get on the phone with you, and it's just like having a father talk to you, you know? But in a way where they're giving you advice, you know?
Okay, Jose.
Yeah.
There's nothing that can't be worked out between two reasonable people, you know? You know, but...
And he's talking about Sammy Zone tonight.
There's so many quotes that he's... Do you understand? I've got...
He's gonna do a routine about...
I should have brought a pen and paper. I'm like, oh, say that again.
But you now that you've gone from freestyle to being a comedian, Phillip Anthony, you're paying your dues.
Yeah.
And you're doing things, and you're on your, fifth year now?
Yeah, you're a little more than 5 years now.
Yeah, you're on your fifth year of doing comedy, and you've been paying your dues. Mm-hmm. You've been putting shows together, small, big, whatever. You've been traveling.
Now I'm getting booked to headline almost every weekend.
That's
at
awesome.
Different places. So yeah, it's been a transition.
Where can we come see you?
I live on... I don't know. So, yeah, I'm usually doing a lot of stuff in New England. I do a lot of stuff in Boston and Rhode Island, here in this side of Mass, Connecticut. I've been doing a lot of stuff in New York. I go there once in a while. It's so saturated over there, right, that it's ridiculous. I get on shows normally with the comedians that I booked out here.
Okay.
So when they do stuff out there, I've been in Queens and Brooklyn, Manhattan. I've done Dangerfields. I've done.
Let me know when you're in Queens.
Caroline's.
Caroline's is like.
But
a staple.
Paying your dues in comedy and paying your dues in freestyle are pretty much similar because you've done both.
Yes. It is similar. You have to. I mean, just like you selling tickets, you got. There's what we call bringer shows, like. When you're in your second year, you want to get into these big clubs in New York. You gotta bring people. You gotta be able to bring 5 to 6 people in the door in order for you to get 5 minutes. And I've driven 3 hours and invited 20 people, and just did 5 minutes on stage.
Right.
But you know, those are the dues you pay. Now I don't have to do that anymore when I go down there, and now I get paid when I go down there. You know, so it's different. You know.
Carlos, what do you think about social media and freestyle?
Oh.
I need to know.
That should have been your first question.
Well, it's because we're talking history here. We're talking about the process of Berrios versus Zone, but what is your opinion on social media? Is it a hinder for now, or is it something that's helping us? Is it hindering us as a collective? Is it a positive thing?
Well, to market and to promote, it's a positive thing. You know. To share your most, innermost thoughts, I think, that's the part of it that I don't really understand. And at the same time, because I am trying to bring the music into today, or whatever it is that I'm trying to do, I need to understand social media, So it is a little weird. Like the first time I did a video, a live thing, it was the twins that talked me into it. And they were like, "Just get on the editing machine, man. Just turn it on." And I did, and I was terrified, because it's like getting up on stage, and I never had I found newfound respect for performers, people that perform in front of people. Because I tried the acting thing, and I was in a play, And I did it, you know. And every single night I was terrified. And it was that terror that stopped me from pursuing it. I said, I don't think that I have the passion for this, for acting, enough for me to overcome that, you know. But because people, no matter what, people have it, and I understood that, you know. Like Johnny Carson always said, his entire career, that moment before he went through the curtains, he had butterflies in his stomach, and that just doesn't go away. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I just wasn't comfortable with it. So I don't understand that aspect of, you know, hey, check me out, I'm going to get my groceries, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah, we have DJs now that are eating lunch and they're on social media,
right?
And they're talking about freestyle or whatever. I'm like, I don't understand this, but it is what it is, you know.
And I've done it, you know, not a lot. I think maybe 4 times in total, but you know, I've done it, and it's actually like it feels kind of fun, you know. But I think you really do have to have something to say. I don't think you can just turn the thing on and say, you know,
you
whatever.
should have something to say.
You should have something to say.
You should.
Something meaningful to say.
Right.
Something meaningful to say.
You know, it's
now,
letting people in your life and letting them peek into it. But let's not pick that going to Diti's house and everybody getting drunk and the bottles flying. Let's pick something very interesting.
Yeah.
I got, you know, look, because I work in film too, you know, and obviously my you know, one of my very best friends and brothers, Frank Reyes, he's done 3 films that have been distributed, you know, by majors. And so we really do understand what's going on in Hollywood, and you know, and the racial component of it, you know, and the struggle, things that you would never hear about, you'll never read about, you'll never know about, because you have to be there to witness it and to, you know, and to just to really see what it really is, you know, and it's not. It's obviously it's on a much bigger scale, but it happened to us in freestyle too.
I was about to say that in freestyle right now, the same things are happening in a very smaller scale, but you know, behind the scenes, a lot of things are happening where people are not aware, and then you know they take social media for granted, or they use it to manipulate the narrative, you know, and those are the things that worry me, because people are more interested in the gossip and the personal stuff than the music sometimes, and I want to talk about the process of putting good music out into the community.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are not happy with me right now, but it's because I tell them exactly how I feel when it comes to their music. I don't attack them personally.
Right.
I attack them musically.
Right.
But the attacks that come forth to me are personal, because they have no comeback to me saying, hey, your mix down is not good.
Right.
You're a bad vocalist. You shouldn't be using the Planet Rock beat.
Right.
You know, because, you know, you got to create your own sound. You know, those are the things that I say. And people are like, who are you? Well, you put me here.
Right.
You know, you're the one who chose to send me your music. Sammy has sent me his music many times. He's asked for my opinion many times. We've had conversations. Phillip Anthony, I've stopped him from making a few choice mistakes. Am I going to get it 100% correct all the time? No. But I've been taught, you know, through my years, through listening, that maybe I don't have all the answers, but I can give you a tidbit here, tidbit there, or I can refer you over to someone that's going to help you. And you know, but I just think that a lot of the relationships that we have in our via social media or in freestyle are sometimes temporary, you know, and are just for a short amount of time, and then people move on to other things, or they use you for what they need, and then they move on.
Right.
People serve purposes. They have friends for all different type of purposes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why. Look, I'm very private. You know, even before social media, that's the way I was. And you know, through you know, I guess a certain type of you know, life earned you know, skill, I decide who I'm going to let into my, you know, into my environment, in my circle, or not. You know, and I've only made a couple of mistakes in that sense. You know, for the most part, I've held it together, and because it's like what do they call that? It's I forget what it's called. There's a saying like releasing the scorpion into the whatever, and you try to avoid that. You know, and if you have a very good if you're a good people reader, you know what I'm saying, then it's enough, because people generally, they wear it.
I can tell who's going to implode 6 months before they implode. Like, like in the beginning, they're like, "Oh, CPR, you're the best. I love your show." And I'm like, "Oh, here we go. Here's the pitch."
Right.
You know, and then I'm like, I'm going to give this person a little shine. I'm going to promote them. I'm going to push them on my radio. It's at no cost to them.
Right.
They don't pay me to be here. And this is not something that I do because I don't love the music. Everybody knows I love this music.
Right. And
then you give them a little leeway, and then they end up on the countdown, and that's when it just turns into something totally different. Yeah. And you just
well, you're in a difficult position because you're from the day that you started to the day that you're in, you're going to be in that position, you know, and I don't think I'm in any type of similar position. So if people ask me for my opinion, I'll hesitate because I understand that my opinion is, all opinions are subjective, so I can tell you and I have to say it. It's like, I'll qualify it and say, this is my opinion. Now, if I tell you that I personally think that it sucks, it doesn't mean that it won't work or that it's not good or anything, because, if you read the history of anything, whether it's a music, film, whatever you're interested in, you're always going to find, like when you walk into an office like Sony or whatever, the executive sitting behind a desk. And this is what I'm talking about. Every single record that I ever created that I took to an office, they threw it back at me and said, this isn't good, And it's only through perseverance and persistence, that I was able to, get the deal necessary for me to, let's say, finish the record so that it can sound like something, It was very hard when you have no money in the beginning, Yeah. And you're trying to do the best that you can, but it doesn't really...
What I do is I try to protect the artists from themselves. Like, for example, Sammy Zone put out Without You. The next record that he puts out has to be equal to or better than Without You. And if it's not, I'm going to let him know. Is he going to put the record out? Yeah. Am I going to support it? Yeah, we're going to see how it goes.
But that's the game,
And so, and then you find that, maybe the person that gave you the advice was being factual with you, or they were wrong.
I never get upset with, somebody tells me, and it happened to me yesterday. I played something new, somebody I respect totally, and I said, what do you think? And they said, the song's not that good. I said, okay, And after a while, because I'd rather somebody tell me the truth than lie to me. Like, if you're my friend, tell me the truth. Don't worry about hurting my feelings. I want to know. And if something, no matter what, you do your best and you hope that it works. That's the thing. But I know that it doesn't always, I have a lot, I have several records that I put out that I'm like, ugh, I can't hear them. I'm not going to tell you which ones.
Before we go, I want to give the mic to Sammy Zone. Congratulations, brother. And
thank you, man.
I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you've worked hard, man. You deserve everything that you're getting at this moment. And I hope that you continue getting all the shows. You're going to be on a boat, right?
Yeah, this weekend I'm doing something, a Circle Line cruise boat with Judy Torres, and that's going to be real cool. And it's like every week there's been show after show.
And you did a good job in Chicago, man. You went from one side of the stage to the other.
It's a workout. I'm trying to lose the belly, bro. I'm telling you.
Just like running. It was a running redux, all right. He was just like, choo, choo. He was just running and running. And he did a good job. He commanded the stage. He got his pointing thing, and he got his mic, and so it's a good thing to see. Someone becoming
First impressions are everything. That was my first time in Chicago, so it was very important. I wanted to make sure I caught everybody, left to right.
It's been an educational conversation. We hope to continue this conversation on the Freestyle Club. Phillip Anthony, thank you so much for coming. And
I'm glad I came. I haven't seen Carlos in a long time. I haven't seen Sammy in a long time. Yeah. If there's something that people want to take from today, he said he had so many good quotes, but he said the objective is not just to put out freestyle music. It's to put out the best freestyle that you possibly can. So that's what I need these new guys to take with them. I'm not in the music. I'm not in the genre anymore, but we need more of that. We need more of that being the goal. So shop it around. Listen to the critic. Just because, like they said Together Forever wasn't great, and then it became one of the greatest freestyle songs ever made. So it doesn't mean your song is dead. Just keep working on it. It's not ready. That's all. Just keep going.
Yeah. And I will always give credit to the person that comes back and proves me wrong, because that's the whole point. The whole point of me saying this is not good it's not because I don't believe in the person or the artist. It's because I want you to come back and prove me wrong. But for the most part, I just go on social media and bash me. And that's not the way that it should be. It should be like, I'm going to show him. I'm going to show him. I'm going to come out with something better. And it happens all the time.
It's truth. Truth is because about 10 years ago, I let you hear the leaked version. And you were like, yeah, it's cool. I can't wait to hear the final and the finished product.
That's a good thing.
10 years later. And, it took us 10 years to really get it done right.
And you remember that quote, didn't you?
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. You gotta work on your craft, man. You gotta get it right.
Sammy's come a long way in 10 years, and I'm very proud of him. Very proud of Sammy Zone.
All right, so we got to go. We've been talking for 90 minutes, and it's been a very educational 90 minutes, but we got to go. And again, we hope to continue this conversation on the Freestyle Club. It's an honor to have you both here. Carlos, Berrios, truly an honor for you to do things in a traditional form and come in person to a radio station. Sammy Zone, much success to you. June 8th is Armageddon, so guys, get ready. There's like 20 different freestyle shows happening in one night. And
Freestyle Armageddon?
Yeah, Freestyle Armageddon. And I made fun, but there should be a celebration right now because on June 8th, there's 5 or 6 different freestyle shows happening, and most of them are sold out. So, it's a great thing to celebrate. So, any final thoughts from Carlos or Sammy?
Just to say thank you. I appreciate you inviting us here, and I think it's been a long time coming, and I had a great time. You guys are great hosts, and thank you very much. That's it.
Sammy.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I'm always appreciative of these opportunities that Mr. CPR, gives us, and of course helping spread quality freestyle music to the fans of New England area here. We love you guys.
Once again, it's Clubhouse Dance Music, and it's about that time for me to get on out of here. I want to thank once again the legendary Carlos After Dark Berrios, who joined us here in the studios live. Love that. Live in the studio. Also, Sammy Zone. Big shout-outs going out to Phillip Anthony, the comedian Phillip Anthony. Big shout-outs going out to the student of the game, Cheryl, and her bodyguard, Virgil. That's pro wrestling. Yes. Jose, thank you for coming. I'm not thanking myself for coming. His name is Jose. Until next time, it's CPR saying goodbye. And remember, it's not who you love, it's how. Leaving you with Berrios versus Zone. This is the Running Redux. It's available on all your digital distribution sites. It's available on vinyl on eBay. And it's also available to stream on your favorite streaming site. Talk to you soon.
I played the fool time after time. Ignored all the signs. Even when they told me, I refused to believe it. 'Cause I was so caught up into you. I was blinded. But now I can see things clear. We both know it was never me. But we'll play a game. And I'll let you see who's running back to who.
Hot steamy night alone, I wait for you.
Berrios, what are you doing? Drop the